Hello everyone, using my Minelab Manticore. I just want to do a quick size test, depth test and sort of separation test on this bit of equipment. So I've switched to the smaller coil recently and I've been having great success with it. It's been really good at the separation stuff. So what I wanted to do is just run through a few scenarios, all of them apart from the end one, which is extreme depth. Have all got some sort of a target in and around them. There's iron all around this area, so you might hear that being picked up in the tones as well. I'm going to have the sensitivity of 24. I raise the coil up a little bit to make the detector a little bit smaller, just to emulate the scenario here. So we're testing depth and separation using a 9-inch and then the 11-inch coil end thereafter. The reason for this is just I want to make sure I'm not missing any key targets with a 9-inch, because I'm using it because it's been so much easier to pinpoint and stuff. So yeah, let's give it a go. So what I will say before I start, this is not ground testing, not dug into the ground. It's an air test. They're just through plastic and through material, so there will be a bit of resistance to the targets from the coil. However, it's not going to be the same as ground testing. However, on the flip side, because it's our caravan site here, I'm not able to raise the sensitivity up as much as I do out on the ground dependent on the soil, etc. So yeah, let's give it a go. So the first target air test is a small object and a halfpenny. So the small object on the right is a tiny little button, and then the other object next to it, a couple of inches next to it, is a halfpenny, a Victorian halfpenny. So let's first see if we can pick it up. We should pick it pretty easy. Yeah, picking it really easy, and it's coming up as clear 2 targets on my 2D screen there, so the separation is pretty good. That's the halfpenny on the left, nice 46s, 48 consistency. Reading pretty accurate on the gauge depth test as well, which it always does with medium to smaller size coins. And you can hear the more slightly grunty, copperier button now on the right, and that's come all the way over to the left of my 2D bar. So yeah, good start so far. Next one then, 7 inches, and this is a full penny on the right, and on the left it's a cartwheel 1 pence, so a bigger coin, and these normally beam out with the signals. So 7 inches. Yeah, you can hear the clear 2 distinct different tones there, beaming through absolutely no dramas. Let's raise up a little bit. Probably just stopping at the 12-inch point there. That's the sort of limit of the depth there. Yeah, nice on the penny. And you can hear that really nice high-pitched tone that you get with those really big cartwheel pennies as well. And then at the end there, 12 inches down, so this might be a little bit more difficult to pick up. I've sort of placed down a shilling, a George V shilling. I think they're like 50% silver, but they still give a cracking little signal on these. See if we can pick this up at 12 inches now as 1 target. Yeah, probably get that at 13 as well, 13 inches. That's really good depth there for the 9-inch coil. So absolutely no problem whatsoever at any of the depth throughout with the 9-inch coil. What I'll do now, I'll flip over to the 11-inch coil and we'll run through the same scenario again. Cheers guys. So got the stock fitted 11-inch coil on now. So yeah, let's run through the same amount of scenarios as we did with a 9-inch. What we should get is maybe slightly not as good separation, but we should get a little tiny bit more depth. But yeah, this is just what I've watched and what I read from the sort of instructional manual. So yeah, it'll be interesting to run through the same tests as with the 9-inch coil and see how we get on. So yeah, firstly then, we've got a tiny button on the right, and then the halfpenny on the left of 4 inches. So let's run through that now. Yeah, no problem. Picks up the same as what I would do with a 9-inch. You wouldn't expect to have any issues with a 9-inch depth at 4 inches. Still good separation there as well. So what we got now is the penny on the right, the Vicky penny, and on the left, the cartwheel 1 penny, really dense, thick coin. So let's see how we get on with this. So same as the first set of targets, picking them up really easy. Both targets are coming up on the 2D bar, so great separation. And they're not right next to each other, but they're almost right next to each other. So you wouldn't have any issue. There's a little bit of trash next to it. It's not going to mask it out at all. Probably cutting off there about 13 for the cartwheel. So yeah, good depth still for the cartwheel. So no issues there. I don't notice any massive differences though in the depth at the moment, if I'm being honest, with the 9-inch. So let's go over to the shilling, the Georgia 5th shilling. It's 12 inches now. Yeah, this will be interesting to see if we can get a little bit more depth with the 11-inch coil, because the 9-inch coil, performing depth-wise, is certainly punching above its weight. So we're picking it up nicely at 40s, consistent tone. Probably can still get at 13, 14, probably there. So the watt is for that, it probably does exactly what it says on the manufacturer's tin for me. The 9-inch coil will give you that little bit more separation. It'll be so much easier in trashy areas, and you're not losing that much sort of depth as well. But for the tiny little hammers at medium to deep, really deep down, or the medium sized targets deeper than 13, 14, you might just be able to pick them up with the 11, where you wouldn't be able to with the 9-inch coil. So what I tend to do is, just if I've got permission, one day I'll whack the 9 in, next day I'll whack the 11-inch coil on, another time I'll whack the 15-inch coil on, and just use them for their different strengths. Obviously for super trashy areas, you're always going to put the 9-inch coil on, whack the recovery speed up to 6 or 7, and just pick away at the in between the trashy targets. Really hard work, but it can be done. I've been on some really trashy sites and still dug up a few silver coins, but it's a bit more of a patience game. I do like a nice clear green pasture like most people do, but green waste as well can be done. You just got to pick in between a little bit better. Yeah, so to summarise, I'm probably going to stick with the 9-inch coil for now, and then if I got permission I keep going back to it again. I feel it's clear, then I'll whack the 11-inch coil on, and then after I think it's clear, then whack the freaking 15-inch coil on, and then play around with your settings as well. So my settings are pretty simple. I'll do a separate video on my settings. It's pretty much the default settings with a few tweaks here and there. Open up the iron bias a tiny little bit, and just keep it simple. Use a simple tone. Generally use a 5 tone, just because I'm used to it from the 800. But like, it doesn't really matter what you use as long as it works for you. But what will work for you is just playing around with it. A lot of people just turn it on and just use the default settings. The machine isn't designed for that. You'll get the most out of this machine, out of the Manticore. It's a cracking machine. It's an amazing machine. You'll get most from it from playing around with it and learning the machine properly. If you're just taking it out of the box, turning it on, yeah, it's still an amazing machine. You will still find stuff, but you're not suiting it to the best it can be in the environment. For example, sensitivity, that shouldn't be just fixed on 22 or 24. It goes all the way up so the ground suits it. The best way I've heard it being explained is whack it all the way up until it's crackling like heck, and then keep turning it down, and when it's just popping a little bit, little pops, that's when you want to keep it at that, because then you're punching through the ground as deep as possible, but also then you're getting the most out of the depth as well. But what you don't want it to be is too far over to the right, too high, and then you're missing tiny little signals. But yeah, Minelab Manticore, awesome machine. For me, it was like a transition from getting used to the 800. Took a few months. I've been metal detecting for a year now, but I've been at it quite a lot in the evenings, and I get out as much as I can. So I've had a lot of hours out on the ground. And then like the 800s, the Manticore was like a natural progression for me to the Minelab Manticore. I guess if you're not going to play with the settings with this, if you're not going to learn this machine and get into the weeds of the settings, then you may as well just stick to the Equinox 800s or 900, because they will just go as deep, probably, if I'm being honest. And I found all my best stuff because I've been at it for 8 months with the 800s. But what this does is separation. That's the key difference. I think like the power thing, it's 50% more power. That doesn't mean 50% more depth. That just means the AI and the separation is just mind-blowingly better than any other machine I've used. So yeah, like that's the key with this. Learn the settings, get out and about, trial it. You know, if you play with the settings and you mess it up, it doesn't matter. Just like press and hold the power button, reset it, start again, and just build up, build up. What I would suggest if you're new to the hobby and you've just bought this machine, like I told my dad, just literally learn the default settings for a few months, only tweak the recovery speed and the sensitivity, and then as you learn the machine more, then start tweaking with the tones, the iron bias, that sort of those sort of bits and bobs, which is, like I've mentioned several times now, is what makes the Minelab Manticore stand out amongst other machines. But yeah, no, thank you for your time. Hopefully update with a video in the next sort of couple of weeks or so. I'm on holiday with the family at the moment, only able to sneak this quick tutorial video in whilst my kids are sleeping. So yeah, their little lunchtime nap, I'm just sneaking this in while the missus out and about working for the day. So if you have got any like comments or feedbacks or any ways you think this could be improved in regards to how the machine operates and the sensitivity and recovery speed, etc., please drop a comment in the comments box. It really does help the channel. And also please like and subscribe if you find this content useful. Thank you for your time, guys. Happy hunting.